In the last 2 weeks, I've traveled over 50 hours to be at the Flock League to draft my fantasy football team. There's a $10,000 cash prize on the line, and I'm going to walk you through the strategy I took this video, as well as talk you through why I made some of those picks that I'm
literally betting $10,000 on.
The first player that we said, you know what, yeah, that guy's going to give me that 10K in the Flock League was Mr. Puka Nacua. My goodness, ladies and gentlemen, the Matthew Stafford injury presented the biggest steal for me in round one. All these guys are playing scared in the Flock League, but not me. At the 110, we drafted from the 10 spot, if you don't know. We grabbed Puka Nacua. Before Puka, we had Nico, Neighbors, and then we did have a little bit of surprise with this one with CMC going at the 105, so some guys slid down. But I got Puka Nacua there at the 110. This is possible in your leagues. I think so as well. People are scared about Puka Nacua because of the Matthew Stafford injury. He fell to me at the 110. Remember, this was the consensus 7th best player all offseason. He was a 107 locked and loaded. And, you know, we've seen him fall from about the 7th overall player to like the 12th. So in some of your leagues, he might be the last pick in the first round or the first pick in the second round. If you can get him at any of those positions, you are robbing your league blind like I did the Flock League. And in case you need a friendly reminder from last year, when healthy, from weeks 8 to 17, Puka had higher averages than CeeDee Lamb, JJ, and Amon-Ra St. Brown in fantasy points per game, targets per game, target share, receptions, receiving yards, and yards per route run. Look, Puka Nacua wasn't just good last year. He was the second best wide receiver in the entire league. And even if you look beyond last year, Puka Nacua's start of his career overall is elite, historically elite. Here's a list of wide receivers in the last 2.5 decades who in their rookie seasons averaged 9+ targets, 6+ receptions, 85+ receiving yards, and 17.5 points per game. Anquan Bolden, OBJ, and Puka Nacua. That's it. That's the 3 guys who have done it in the last 2.5 years. But why don't we take that a step further? How many of those guys were able to do it 2 years in a row to start their career? It's only Odell Beckham Jr. and Puka Nacua. And these fools let him slide to me. Reminder, all the way down at the 110. All right, we are running laps around the Flock League here. I mean, that 10K, I can already smell it in my bag. There is zero reason to believe that this offense is going to heavily feature their wide receivers again. No one targeted wide receivers more than the Rams did in 2024. McVay knows what he wants to do through the air. And despite the Adams addition, you can see with our vacated targets tool in our draft guide, the Rams are 3rd in total vacated targets this offseason with 215 and 1st in wide receiver vacated targets with 205, which is more than any other team in the NFL. There's more than enough room to go around, for Puka, for Adams to dominate. And I started my draft anchor wide receiver. I think you guys know what's coming next if you've watched my channel. But by the way, the comparison tool on the Flock site, we just used it to showcase Puka, CD, Jefferson, Amon-Ra. That is just one of the many tools you get when you sign up for a 2025 season pass with the promo code LAND. Don't go and raw dog your draft, guys, all right? Even if you don't trust me, go trust someone to get some information before your draft starts. Well, here's the great thing about the season pass. For $34, that's about $1.70 per week for the rest of the season. You get season-long access to my rankings, both off-season, in-season, weekly, and rest of season rankings, all the premium tools on the Flock site, start, sit, and trade question vouchers so I can help you with your fantasy football team. You get my draft guide and the ability to enter live land community leagues. Our draft guide is continually being updated, brand new rankings. Like every couple days, we're updating it for you guys. So definitely check that out in the pinned comment. All right, so after starting with Puka Nacua in round number 1, what do we do in round number 2? Well, we had to go with our anchor wide receiver double RB strat, and our first running back with that strat was Bucky Irving at the 203, ladies and gentlemen.
Gotham needs a hero, but I need a running back. Some say fear is a weapon, but fear has a name, and his name is Bucky Irving.
That might have been a surprise for some of the people in the Flock League, but that was not a surprise for any of you guys who have been watching my channel. I am all in on Bucky, Batman, Irving. That's right, baby. Look, this team in Tampa Bay, they've talked about how they're comfortable giving Bucky Irving a bigger role this year, and we actually saw that in some of their preseason games. Week 2 of the preseason for the Tampa Bay Bucks, and to be fair, Rachaad White was out, but Bucky played 18 of 19 snaps, 95% with the first team. That is under Teddy Bridgewater. But they basically are showing us that they want to utilize Bucky more and more. He actually caught a touchdown pass from Teddy Bridgewater. It was awesome. But regardless of Rashad's injury status, I've been projecting a bigger role for Bucky all offseason. He was never going to get past me in the second round. Maybe you feel the same way in your drafts. Maybe you're watching this and you think I'm crazy. But look, Bucky took over this job after their bye week. From weeks 1 to 11, they were kind of status quo there. Bucky was eating into the role. But after the bye week, as we typically see for rookies that are very good, they start to dominate their role. And that's what we saw for Bucky Irving. He was a clear RB1 in that span. And then if you count the 2 must-win games at the end of the year for the Bucks, that is week 18 to make the playoffs and the wild card round versus Washington, Bucky got 21.5 touches per game, and Rachaad White only had 1.5. That is very indicative of telling us what they plan to do this next season. Of course, it's not going to be that drastic, but Bucky's going to be their guy. And as a rookie, he was already one of the best running backs in the entire NFL. He can only get better. I mean, he was 4th in yards per carry, 7th in run grade, PFF, number 1 in yards after contact per attempt. My man is turning lemons into lemonade, my guys. Top 10 in missed tackles forced despite splitting opportunities, top 5 in breakaway percentage and yards per route run. So, of course, more work is coming for him, and he won a lot of you guys' fantasy championships after his bye week. From week 12 onwards last year, on just 51% of the snaps, he averaged 18.3 points per game. And in one of those games, week 14 versus Vegas, he left with an injury and played 16% of the snaps. So if you remove that game, he actually averaged 20.8 points per game in that span. Only Gibbs, Bijan, and Saquon averaged more in that span. Imagine what he could do with 65 to 70% of the work. And I kind of find it funny that people are so hesitant on Bucky Irving, despite everyone's beloved Devon Achane takes last offseason. Think about it. Last year, Devon Achane going into his second year showed a lot of promise in his first year on a very good offense, at least what we projected. Like, why is no one talking about this comparison here? I mean, we were all comfortable taking Achane in the second round. Why are we not comfortable taking Bucky in the second round? Let's compare their rookie years. Bucky had more touches per game as a rookie. They averaged about the same amount of yards per game. Sure, points per game were higher for Achane, but from week 10 onwards, we saw Bucky average 18.3 points per game. And by the way, Bucky never dealt with those kind of serious injuries that Achane had as a rookie. He finished as a top 14 running back in fantasy football while Achane dealt with the injuries. The only difference between betting on Bucky versus Achane after their rookie season is that the Bucks are a superior offense to the Dolphins rather. Okay, so you'll know about our anchor wide receiver double RB strat. So in round 3, we had to come back to the running back room and grab us an Alvin Kamara at the 310. We were just salivating, waiting for one of these running backs to fall to us. Look, I felt like Kamara was going to be, gettable in the flock league. The reality is, young, hot players, people are drooling over. Like, there's a lot of dynasty guys in this league. But that leaves me the more obvious, less sexy, older names like Alvin Kamara in a PPR league. I was cheering. Remember, Alvin Kamara priced as RB17 in drafts last year. Then he proceeded to finish as the RB9 overall despite missing 3 games. All right, well, how about this year? Price is RB15. But a lot of people are taking him over on Marion Hampton. In the flock league, Marion Hampton was taken at the 212, so a full round before Alvin Kamara was taken. But again, Price is RB15 this year. What's funny about that is that would be Alvin's lowest point per game finish ever in a 7-year career. In fact, he's been top 8 in 7 out of 8 career years on a points per game basis. And he averaged last year more points per game than Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Josh Jacobs, Breece Hall, Bucky Irving, but he's being drafted significantly behind those names. There's not a single guy in this depth chart you need to worry about. And the Saints have cupcake matchups to start the year in 2025. So they should have a great opportunity for Alvin Kamara to get out on the road early and often. So in the first 3 rounds, we followed our own strategy that we've talked about on this channel. Anchor wide receiver, double RB strat. Heading into round 4, we were thirsty for a rookie with some upside, and we took Tataria McMillan. I know I'm not saying it right. All right, get off my back. Some of you guys are with your, word police. All right, T-Mac. We got T-Mac McMillan. All right. I know he's dealing with a hamstring injury. It's a minor hamstring injury. They weren't going to start any of the first team anyway for the rest of the preseason. This is precautionary. Do not worry. Still draft T-Mac with confidence. He's instantly the wide receiver 1 in Carolina. In week 1 in the preseason, he played, 100% of the snaps with the first team. He ran 100% of the routes run and got a target on 50% of the passes from Bryce Young. 3 out of 6 targets. If you were looking for any confirmation that T-Mac is the alpha on this team, then you got it, ladies and gentlemen. And he already showed his alpha status for 3 years at Arizona, where he produced at an elite level. As a true freshman, 700 yards, 8 touchdowns. As a sophomore, 1,410. As a junior, 1,308. He had back-to-back years over 107 receiving yards per game. This man woke up. This man out of the womb. This man was born, in Hawaii And he was an alpha. Out of the womb, he was an alpha. There have been 8 wide receivers drafted top 10 in the NFL draft since 2020. The only wide receivers who haven't finished top 24 in points per game, Odunze and Marvin Harrison. Odunze was battling for opportunities last year. Marvin Harrison just wasn't on the same page with his quarterback. And my goodness, this team needs a wide receiver to step up. Last year, their top wide receiver was Adam Thielen. I mean, guys, this is basically Malik Neighbors last year, but he's cheaper. And I know he's not as talented as Malik Neighbors, but this is basically a similar situation. So he was officially our 4th round pick. We came back and we grabbed Rome Odunze, which we've talked about many times on this channel as a breakout. Then in round number 6, y'all know we had to do it. It's probably not a surprise, but we took Isaiah Pacheco as our RB3. So through 3 rounds, we've got 3 wide receivers, 3 running backs. We are running laps around this league. If you've watched my channel at all, you know that we're in on Pacheco this year. One of the cheapest RB1s in fantasy. Last year, this guy was 19th overall on ESPN, RB7 off the board. So everybody saw a bunch of upside. Today, he's going around the 73rd overall player in fantasy drafts, but he's continually ascending in these fantasy drafts, which shouldn't be a surprise because people are realizing, oh my gosh, this team should be very good. He's going to be the RB1. ESPN Mike Clay has the Chiefs projected to score the 5th most points per game. And I strongly believe that he is going to be the RB1 on this team. Remember last year, before the injury in week 2, he was top 10 in carries, targets, and fantasy points, averaging 16 points per game. And in that very small sample size, he had a higher utilization rate than Jonathan Taylor, Joe Mixon, Josh Jacobs. And remember, in 2023, the last time he was healthy, he averaged 15.3 points per game, the running back 14. I think he's a very cheap, affordable running back on a very good offense. He had the fibula injury. Tony Pollard was the most recent running back to go through that. But you can see the year after the fibula injury, he had a 300 plus touch season in Dallas. Same last season in Tennessee. So I think we're going to see a more healthy Pacheco with a lot more juice on a very good offense, getting plenty of opportunities. All right, so round 6 finished, and then we came back around the board at round 7 at the 7:10. You'll notice here at the 7:09, Deebo Samuel. I love me some Deebo Samuel, and he did get sniped. Look at that Brian Robinson pick at the 7:04. My God, that looks terrible now, doesn't it? So unfortunately, Deebo Samuel was the last guy we were really desperately wanting to grab. All my tiers were starting, they weren't ending, but Bo Nix was available. And as you guys know, we love us some brother Bo Nix on this channel. You can see that the quarterback before that was Joe Burrow at the 6:05. Before that, you had Hurts at the 4:09 and Daniels at the 4:07. But here's what's interesting. I personally have Bo Nix in the same tier as Joe Burrow and Jaden Daniels in my rankings. So I viewed Bo Nix at the 7:11 or 7:10 rather as a huge steal, especially like after being able to set up such a foundation for my fantasy team. I was able to draft 3 running backs, 3 wide receivers, and still get a quarterback that I think has top 3 upside in Bo Nix. And if you don't agree with me, check out what he did from weeks 5 to 18 last year. He was a quarterback 5 in that span, averaging 21.5 points per game, 3.6 touchdown to interception ratio. He was fantastic. From week 5 onwards, Bo Nix averaged more points per game than Jaden Daniels. So don't think it's crazy that I'm putting him in the same tier as Jaden Daniels. He is less sexy Jaden Daniels, and I say that as a Commanders fan. He averaged more points per game from week 5 onwards than Mahomes, Goff, Herbert, Murray. Let's take it a step further. Bo Nix had a historically good season. Yes, so did Jaden Daniels, but here are the 4 quarterbacks in the last 25 years who in their rookie season had 350 PPR points, 3,200 passing yards, and 400 rushing yards. It's 4 names. It's Cam Newton, Daniels, RG3, and Bo Nix. Why is Bo Nix not a hotter name to draft this year? I don't get it, but I will take the value in the flock league. And all these guys spending quarterback, early, that's fine. I'm going to have a better built team, a more complete team, and Bo Nix is going to give me that weekly upside. And if Bo Nix was able to do something historic in such an average situation, what can he do with more help? Evan Ingram is on the way. RJ Harvey, J.K. Dobbins, Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin another year in this offense. Pat Bryant, a middle round wide receiver to kind of push everyone to the next level. And by the way, his head coach, Sean Payton, was quoted to have said, I honestly think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks. Within the next 2 years, I think he's going to be a superstar. So I was not afraid in the 7th round at the 7:10 to go ahead and click that draft button on Bo Nix. And I don't feel like anyone in the flock league was really high on it, but I'll tell you what, that was one of my favorite picks of the entire draft. All right, so let's go a little further into the draft because After I took Bo Nix, we took Jaden Higgins, Charbonnet, who's a high upside handcuff. We took a little Keon Coleman in the 10th, a little Ray Davis, Isaac Horindo, trying to get some handcuffs in this league. Then in round number 13, I'm not going to lie to you, it was kind of a joke, but we did take our first kicker off the board, Brandon Aubrey. Now, again, full transparency, I kind of did this just to make Danny from FSC a little bit upset because he's a big, out there, very loud about it Cowboys fan. But if you're going to take a kicker before anyone, make sure it's Brandon Butter Aubrey. Last year, he was the kicker one in fantasy football, 11.3 points per game, 192 on the year. He had 9 games over 10 points, 4 games over 15 points. And before Dak Prescott went down with an injury from weeks 1 to 9, he was averaging 12.1 points per game. Let's play a game. You guys ready for this? Who averaged more points per game from weeks 1 to 9? Brandon Aubrey, kicker for the Cowboys, or Tyreek Hill? Cortland Sutton, Marvin Harrison, DJ Moore, George Pickens, Jordan Addison, Keenan Allen. The answer is Brandon Aubrey. All right, let's do the tight end edition. All right, who scored more points per game in that span? Evan Ingram, Tucker Kraft, Mark Andrews, Jonnu Smith. The answer is Brandon Aubrey, and that's because Dallas led the NFL in field goal kicking attempts per game. They were number 1. And the bonus, if he keeps killing it, you can trade him to whoever the Cowboys fan is in your league because they all love Brandon Aubrey. But then after that, you'll notice that we did not draft a tight end. Now, here's been our tight end strategy as we took Jake Ferguson at the 1403. This has been our tight end strategy all offseason, okay? If you can get an elite guy early, great. But you'll notice here in the Flock League, we had Bowers go at the 201. That was never going to happen for me. McBride went at the 305. I couldn't, my next pick was a 310. And Kittle went right before me at the 310. So I'd never had a chance to get an elite guy. Okay, so that's not available. That's fine. The second thing we were going to try and do was grab one of the rookie tight ends. But you'll see here, after George Kittle at the 309 and Laporta at the 612, there were no tight ends coming off the board. So at the 803, I thought I could push the tight end one more round, but then we had Warren, Hawkinson, Loveland, Andrews, Kelsey, and Ingram all come off the board before my next pick in the 9th. So if you don't get an elite guy early and you don't get a young rookie with upside, just kick that thing all the way down. There's no point in taking, a Jonnu Smith like he went in the 11th round here, Tucker Kraft. We kicked it all the way to the 14th round and grabbed Jake Ferguson. Which, that's the strategy. If you're not going to go early, go as late as possible. A couple things to remember on Jake Ferguson. Number 1, the team paid him this offseason, and that's not something they've always done. In previous years, they've actually let Dalton Schultz walk at the tight end position. He was very productive for them, but a 4-year, $52 million extension, that makes him the 6th highest paid tight end in the NFL, right behind David Njoku and Mark Andrews. And before Dak's injury, he was a viable starter. Last year with Dak Prescott on the left side of your screen, 10.2 PPR points per game. Without him, just 5.3. So with Dak back, we're going to see Jake Ferguson get more involved, specifically in that red zone. And again, if you can't get a rookie, if you can't get an elite guy, go as late as possible. So what do we think about the squad, guys? We've got Puka Nacua, T-Mac, Adunze, Higgins, Coleman. All right, that's our wide receiver room. At running back, Irving, Kamara, Pacheco, Charbonnet, Davis, and Horindo. We've got Bo Nix at quarterback. And then at tight end, we kicked it all the way late to Ferguson and Strange, as well as Brandon Aubrey. We'll get a defense later. Let me know what you think about my squad. Rate it from 1 to 10. By the way, you can draft against me in the Rabbit tournament on FastDraft. So we might not be able to be in the Flock League together, but we can still draft together on the FastDraft app. That is a best ball tournament. 1 quarterback, start 8, 15-round tournament, $10 entry, $50,000 prize pool. Here's my most recent squad. I got names like Justin Jefferson, Ken Walker, Cook, Devon Achane, Lamar Jackson, Colson Loveland. And look, these best ball tournaments are not meant to replace your home league. It's just no commitment in season. If you like drafting with me, come draft. You draft, you let the team ride. It handles all itself. Download the FastDraft app. Use the promo code LAND. You're going to get your deposit matched up to $50. That is 5 free Rabbit tournaments on us or 10 free Flex 4 tournaments on us. And if you signed up, DM me on Discord. I'd love to add you to a group chat. Check out the pinned comment. But I appreciate y'all watching the video. I'll see you in the next one. Nothing but love. Let's go kill it in the Flock League this week. All right, whose team, Zach? Let's get it. Draft with me every night this offseason on the FastDraft app, where there are over $250,000 in prizes waiting to be won. Getting started is easy. Download the FastDraft app, use the promo code LAND at signup to get your deposit match up to $50. That is 10 free drafts on us. And when you finish your first real money contest, I'll send you my 2025 rookie report and season rankings completely free. Check out the link in the pinned comment to start drafting today.